Alright, boys and girls, so today we are going to continue our lesson on rounding. So we're just going to go over what you talked about, or what y'all went over with Miss Volker yesterday. So we're going to start off by reviewing rounding to the tens place using a number line. So I have my number line, but I want you to go ahead and get out that white dry erase mat that we sent home at Meet the Teacher in your box, and it's going to have a number line that looks like this, and that's what I want you to get out right now. So if you need to pause the video and go find that, please do so, because I would like you to follow along with me as I write on here, and you're going to write on your board. Okay? So now that you have your dry erase board, our first number that we're going to do is 25. Okay, so I'm just going to write that up here so that we can remember what number we're trying to round. So the first question that we have to ask ourselves is, what two tens is 25 between? So 25 is between 20 and 30, right? So those are the two tens that 25 is between. Now what is the number that's halfway between 20 and 30? 25, right? So let me rewrite that. That looks sloppy. Let's rewrite it so we can read it. 25. There we go. Okay, so well, this is our number right here. So do you remember what Miss Volker said yesterday? Was if it's a 5 that's halfway between, you're going to round up. So 25 rounded to the nearest 10 is going to be 30. Okay? Remember that? Good. Okay, so let's go ahead and move on to the next one. Our next number is going to be 37. 37. Okay? So let's find out what two tens 37 is between. Well, it's in the 30s, so we know it's going to be 30, and then the next 10 is 40. And what's halfway between 30 and 40? 35. Now, is 37 going to be on this side or this side? That's the question. Well, we know that 37 is more than 35, so it's going to be between 35 and 40. So let's just go along our number line, 36, 37. So we'll put 37 right about there. Okay? So is 37 closer to 30 or 40? Looking at your number line. Well, it's closer to 40. So 40, you're going to round 37 up to 40. So 37 rounded to the nearest 10 is going to be 40. Does that make sense? If not, we're going to get into it a little bit more today. So hopefully it'll make more sense today. Okay? So our next one we're going to do is 51. 51. Okay? And 51 is between 50 and 60 on our number line. We're going to mark our halfway point. So our halfway point is 55. And 51 is probably about right here on our number line. Right? Okay. So is 51 closer to 50 or 60? Well, looking at our number line, it's closer to 50. So you're going to round down to 50. Okay? I hope this is making sense. So, our last review from yesterday before we move on is 76. Okay, 76. So let's find our halfway point. or first we gotta pick our two tens. So 70 and 80. 76 is between 70 and 80. Finding our halfway point, 75. 76 is more than 75, so it's gonna go probably about right here, right? And is 76 closer to 70 or 80? It's closer to 80. So 76 rounded to the nearest 10 is 80. Okay? So I hope that made sense. And now we're going to move on, make it a little bit more challenging, but still the same concept. Okay? So now we're going to do the same thing, but we're going to have 3-digit numbers. Okay? So I want you to follow along, pay attention, write it with me, and it's going to be easy. We're going to figure it out. Okay? So our first number is going to be 485. Okay, so that's our first number. Now what two tens is this going to be between? Well, if we're looking at our tens place right here, so this is going to be between 480 and 490. Okay, so don't let that hundreds place throw you off. You're still looking at what two tens it's between. Okay, 80 and 90. 480, 490. So let's find our halfway point. About there. And halfway between 480 and 490 is going to be 485. Well, if you look, this is our number, 485. That's what we're trying to round. And if we remember, if it's halfway, we're going to round up. Okay, so it's halfway, it ends in a 5. We're going to round up to the next 10. So 485 rounded to the nearest 10 is 490. Okay? So let's try another one. Okay. Our next number is 231. Okay, we're still going to round to the nearest 10. So we have to find what two tens 231 is between. 230 and 240. So the two tens is 230 and 240. Okay, finding our halfway point is 235, because that's halfway between 230 and 240. Okay, and our number, we got to find our number on the number line. So our number is 231, and that's probably going to go about right here, 231. Is that closer to 230 or 240? Well, if you look at our number line, it's way closer to 230. So 231 rounded to the nearest 10 is 230. Okay. So let's go on to our next one. And if I'm going too fast, just go ahead and pause the video, rewind it a little bit, and follow along again. If you're confused, just go ahead, send us a message or an email or a remind, and we'll try and help you out as best as we can. So just keep that in mind, that you can always talk to us if you're confused or if you need a little extra help. Okay? So we're going to go on to the next number, which is 677. Okay? So find the two tens that it's between. So if we look at our tens place, 677, So it's going to be between 670 and the next 10, 680. Okay? So let's find our halfway point. About there. Halfway between 670 and 680. 675. Okay. And we know that 677 is greater than 675. So it's going to be on this side of our number line. And we're going to put it about right here. 677. Looking at our number line, is it closer to 670 or 680? It's closer to 680, so we're going to round up. So 677 rounded to the nearest 10 is 680. Okay, we're just going to do a couple more, and then we're going to move on to something a little bit different. Okay, so let's erase that, get it all nice and clean. Our next number is 123. Okay, so looking at our tens place, the two tens that it's between is 120 and 130. Okay, finding our halfway point, 125. It's halfway between, ends in a 5. Okay, now we're going to plot our number that we're looking for, that we're rounding. So 123 is going to go about here on our number line. Now 123, is it closer to 120 or 130? It's on this half, it's closer to 120. So 123 rounded to the nearest 10 is 120. Okay. Again, if this isn't making sense, just go ahead and pause the video, rewind, and watch it again. If it's still not making any sense, just go ahead and send us a message and we will help you through it. Okay? Our next number is 259. 259. Looking at our tens place, it's 5. So our number is between 250 and our next is 260. Okay? 260. Finding our halfway point is 255. Okay? And I want you to go ahead and plot the point and try and figure this one out on your own. Okay? Try and do this one on your own, and then come back to the video, push play, and see if you got it right. So go ahead and push pause and try and do this one on your own. Okay, so if we plot our point, 259, it's going to be about right here. I'm going to write it above it because I've not a lot of space over here. So 259, is that closer to 250 or 260? Well, it's closer to 260. It's right there. So 259 rounded to the nearest 10 is 260. Okay? So we're going to erase that. And we're going to move on to something a little bit different, because there are times when we're rounding that we're not going to have access to a number line, or we're not going to want to use a number line. So we're going to show you, or I'm going to show you some rules that you follow when you are rounding and you don't have a number line. Okay? So you can still use your dry erase mat. There should be some empty space in the middle for you to be able to do this. and we're just going to work on it together. But first I need you to get out your math notebook. So go ahead and pause the video, and go find your math notebook, and come back, okay? So now you have your math notebook. I want you to empty, or open it, don't empty it, open it to a new page, and we're going to go over this anchor chart, and then I want you to pause your video and go ahead and write this in your anchor chart, or this anchor chart into your math notebook. Okay? So these are your rules for rounding, and once you get the hang of it, it makes rounding so much easier. It takes so much less time than the number line. Okay? So our first thing that we do is we mark our place. Okay, so what that means is when you're rounding, it'll ask you, or it'll tell you to round to the nearest 10, the nearest 100, the nearest 1,000, okay? So whatever it's telling you to round to, you're going to find that place value. So if you're rounding to the nearest 10, you'll find your place value at the tens place. If you're rounding to the nearest 100, you'll find your place value at the nearest, or at the hundreds place. So right now we're working with tens place, so that's what we're going to mark, okay? You mark your place at the tens place, okay, if that's what it's asking. And you're going to look next door. So you're going to look to the right next door, okay? And you're going to go ahead and circle that one. You're going to underline the place value. You're going to circle the number to the right of it, okay? So mark your place, look next door, 5 or greater, add 1 more. So if the number that you circled is greater than 5, greater than or equal to 5, then you're going to add 1 more to your rounding place. So whatever place value it's asking you to round to, you're going to add 1 more if this number that you circled is greater than or equal to 5. Okay? If it's 4 or less, you're just going to leave this number alone. You're not going to do anything with it. Okay? And then numbers in front stay the same. So the number in front of the place that you're rounding to is going to stay the same. Nothing's going to change. And then you're going to bring down the number in your tens place, or the number in the place that you're rounding to. Okay, so because we added 1 more, we're going to bring down a 4 instead of a 3. See? And then the numbers behind zeros their name. So that's just going to, everything behind the place value that you're looking for is going to become a 0. Okay? So mark your place, look next door. 5 or greater, add 1 more. Numbers in front stay the same. Numbers behind zeros their name. Okay? So just go ahead and pause your video if you haven't done it, and go ahead and add this anchor chart into your math journal. Okay, so now we're going to move on, and we are going to go over some examples from your worksheet. So this is the worksheet that y'all are going to be working on in Seesaw. Okay? I'm going to ask that you use the T, the little label text box, to write the number, to type out the number that it rounds to on the space. But you're going to show your work. I'm going to show you how to do it, how I want you to do it. And I want you to show your work in your math journal. Okay? And then you're going to take a picture of your math journal and put it in Seesaw. Okay? So we're going to go over these first 3 together. And then if you are still struggling, go ahead and pause, rewind, and then if you still aren't understanding, just go ahead and let us know. That's okay if you don't understand. This can be a little confusing, so just go ahead and let us know if you're still not understanding, and we'll go ahead and try to explain it better or in a different way so that you can understand it. Okay? So the first one that we're going to do is we're going to look at 465. And so you're going to go ahead and get out your whiteboard again, or your math journal, or whatever, and we're going to do this one together. Okay? So we're going to look at A, which is 465, and we're going to write it 465. Okay? And this paper, we're rounding to the nearest 10. So all of these you're going to round to the nearest 10. So if we look back at our rule, right, our first step is to mark your place and look next door. So the 10's place, so we're going to underline to mark our place. We'll look next door to our 5. Okay? Now what does it say? 5 or greater, add one more. So this is a 5. So we're going to add one more over here and make this a 7. Okay? So let's make that a little more clear. Add one more over here, make that a 7. Okay? Now that we've added it, so numbers in front stay the same. So this is our place value, so the number in front stays the same, right? And then we bring down our place value number, so that's 7 because we added one more. And then the last rule, numbers behind zeros their name. So everything behind your place value is 0. So 465 rounded to the nearest 10 is 470. Okay? So on your paper, you're going to use the little label and label 470. This 465 rounded to the nearest 10 is 470. Okay? So let's try another one. Let's do, let's skip over here to J. Okay? A little bit of a glare. So J says 68. Okay? 68. Let's get the glare. 68. Okay? So we're going to mark our place, right? That's what it says. Mark your place, look next door. Looking next door is 8, so we're going to go ahead and circle 8 because that's the number that we're going to focus. 8. Our next part of our rule, 5 or greater, add one more. Okay? This is greater than 5, so we're going to add one more to our place value that we're looking for. So the 6 is going to become a 7. Our next part is numbers in front stay the same. We don't have any numbers in front of our place value. Okay? Our place value that we're rounding to, we added one more, so this becomes a 7. Okay? And then numbers behind zeros their name. So everything behind the place value you're looking for is 0. So 68 rounded to the nearest 10 is 70. Okay? So you're going to write that on your paper using the label box, or the T, the text box, 70. Okay? So 68 rounded to the nearest 10 is 70. Okay? So we're going to look at another one. And there's a couple of them on your paper like this. So be sure and pay close attention, because this one's going to be just a little bit confusing, but we're going to work through it together and we're going to get it, okay? So we're going to look at G, and that says 498. 498. Okay, we're still rounding to the nearest 10. So you mark your place, mark your tens place. Look next door. Okay, next door. That's an 8. Okay. So, let's look back at our anchor chart. Mark your place, look next door, 5 or greater, add one more. So it's greater than 5, so we're going to add 1 over here to make this 10. Okay, you're adding one more to 9 to make it 10. Numbers in front stay the same. Okay, so numbers in front stay the same, so 4, and then you bring down your place value. Well, if you look, this is 10, so that's 2 digits. Well, since we can't have 2 digits in one place value, we're going to have to add this 1 from your 10 into your hundreds place. Okay, so you're going to take your 1 and add it to the 4 to make that a 5. Bring down your 0, because that's in your tens place. Okay, and then numbers behind zeros their name. So this is going to be 0 in your ones place behind your tens place. Okay, you see how I did that? Right? Because you can't have 2 digits in the same place value. So if 10 is in your tens place, then your 0 is going to be your tens place, and you have to add the 1 over to your hundreds place and make that a 5. So 49, when you add 1 to 49, you get 50. Right? So that's all we did, is we're adding 1 to the 9 to make that a 10, but because you can't have 2, you add this 1 to your 4 and make it a 5 to be 50 instead of 49. Okay, and then you bring down your 0, make that a 0. So 498 rounded to the nearest 10 is 500. Okay, and there's a few of these types of problems on your worksheet. Okay, so pay close attention to F. F is going to be like that. Actually, no, F is not. R is going to be like that. Okay, I think that's the only one. So R is going to be similar to that. So pay close attention to R when you are rounding that. Okay. So if you have any questions, or if this is really confusing, like I said, just hit pause, rewind a little bit, watch it again if you need to, follow along. If it's still not making sense, just go ahead and message us, me or Miss Volker, and we will try and help you out as best as we can. We have a few other things that if it's just really not making sense, that we can show you, and hopefully that will make more sense. Okay? So I want you to just go ahead and finish your worksheet. Remember to do it in your math spiral, in your math journal, and then use the text label to go ahead and fill out your worksheet. Okay? I realize I forgot to write this, so this is going to be 500. Okay? So I hope this all made sense, and I can't wait to see all of the great work that you're going to be doing on this worksheet. Okay? So, I want you to go ahead and try to do it without the number line. Do it the way I showed you, right? If it's just not making any sense and you want to check your work to see if you're getting it right, then you can use the number line, okay? But go ahead and try it this way first, and then if it's not making sense, do it on the number line, okay? I hope y'all are understanding.